I'd like to have a motion to pass the four-year bid review that we just spoke about in executive session to the full board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Gary?
All opposed? All right. Back on the facilities agenda, John will have an update for the Torrington driveway update.
Okay, so we did the RFP as requested. We put the RFP out. There was one bidder that showed up for the, just can't make it up. There's one bidder that showed up, and it was the bidder who installed the original driveway.
I mean, we have a set of plans now. I don't have a problem with that.
Right, there's a complete set of plans, a complete set of specifications.
I mean, he's done that kind of work before. He just
Right.
didn't have a set of drawings before.
Right. So it's all engineered, it's all specified. So they are, the bids are due back on May 16th. So so unfortunately, they won't be available for this meeting. But I will make sure that for the next agenda that the bids are available so that you guys can review that. And then that's really kind of something that, again, that's one that we really want to get done this summer. We don't want to delay that one. We made promises to the city on that we would get that taken care of. So.
Is it a mandatory bid walk?
Yes.
So it had to be so you had to be there in order to.
Correct.
Submit.
Yeah.
You got to see it.
If they're available, the facilities may want to meet right before the next board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, when I get the one bid on the 16th, I could set it for the full board for you guys to review at the full board and then approve it at the full board on the 24th. And then we can award prior to me leaving so that at least that project's rolling and in motion, and then somebody can take over after.
16th, full board's on the 24th, so the 17th.
No, I was thinking you guys could even make.
And I can send it out. We can send it out to you
Okay.
prior to.
17th, we have an expulsion.
No, I said the night of the board meeting. Facilities could just get
But
together
that's why we
15
can't meet
minutes
next week.
before, yeah.
What I can do is I can send the copies of the bid out prior to that. When I get it, I'll send it out so that you have it. So I'll send it through Marissa.
Okay.
We do have another cease and desist.
Okay. John, catch basins.
Okay, so so Sue asked me to put this on here for you guys to discuss. Actually, we're fortunate because we have the head custodian for Torrington School sitting over here tonight. So up at Torrington School, there's two catch basins there. They're not curved basins. They're basins that sit out in the center of the playground, and the top of the basin is deteriorated so that there's metal. The metal that they build the basin around is actually starting to come through, and it's creating a safety hazard for the children on a playground. So this 8147 is to replace two catch basin lids.
There's one catch basin in the middle. And there's one over on the side. So it's both of those?
It's both of those, yeah. Yeah. There's other catch basins that on the property that are going to need to be replaced at some point in time. They're not as critical as these because of the playground.
I have a question. Who does our plowing? I don't really know, pardon my ignorance. But who does the
RAR.
plowing?
RAR. That's right now.
Yep.
I mean, I went by and took a walk. Our curbing, I don't know if they're at other schools, but the curbing and those catch basins, looks like they rose up a little bit. But the plows are pounding stuff.
We have money for the curving.
Clear plow scrape marks. So in our plowing contract, are they responsible for any damage that's done during their plowing process?
So they're responsible to repair the curbing, but quite honestly, the curbing at Torrington School, and we've talked about this extensively, Gary, it
We
is.
had money for that. It goes back here.
Yeah, there is money in the capital plan for curbing.
Yeah.
Some of that money we use to put the driveway in. And the repair on this driveway will use some more of that money, because remember, we had to pay for the engineering for this driveway, which was almost $30,000, and then whatever it's gonna cost to, 22,000, I think it was, and then whatever it's gonna cost to make the repair to this driveway, that's not gonna leave a lot of money left in curbing. But the problem with the curbing at the driveway is they paved the driveway and then they formed the concrete curbs right on top of the asphalt. So they didn't go down into the asphalt, so really somebody with a bicycle can move the curb. I mean, they're really bad.
Yeah, just some of the catch bases, you can tell, they're catching the catch basin with the plow.
Yeah.
That's why, I think that's the one down below, that they kept catching that. And it just,
Yeah.
do they plow that in the winter?
Yes, yes, they
The
do.
playground?
They open the playground up so that if we have the chance to have kids go out in the winter and it's a decent day, they have a place to go.
I mean, I wasn't so much concerned about the catch basin that's over on the side, but the sidewalk that's next to it that's been chipped away and pounded. To me, that's more of a trip hazard, and it's so rough, a hazard for kids of that age group.
Yeah, that's in the facility study. And actually, it's in your capital plan about doing sidewalk repairs up at that building.
Okay.
And again, that's just something that, and I know Gary's been an advocate for, making sure that these things get funded and we take care of this stuff. It's.
That's what happens when you don't get money every year and stuff.
Right, but there's exposed metal.
Yeah.
It's rebar.
Yeah, it's rebar. It's a concern because it's directly on the playground.
Pretty nasty cuts on rebar.
So, go ahead, Sue.
Wait, go ahead. You could just-
No, go ahead.
Mine is more along the lines of the quote. A couple things. I'm not really a strong advocate for who's provided the quote right now, based on what's going on with the softball field. I don't know if it's even been fixed yet. But also, as far as the breakdown goes, under labor, it's labor, delivery, materials, and equipment needed to complete the job. It's one lump sum. I really want to see a breakdown of these costs, especially, we keep getting these things out, 8,000, 9,000, whatever. It's kind of, it's both together where we can't see really what we're paying for.
Just asking for a breakdown.
And like a breakdown, a timeline as to when this is going to be done. I'm not
Let me
comfortable with
expand
it.
on her concerns. There's no issue. I think part of the concern is justice. It's a public.
Okay.
And what's
I was
happened in
trying
the
to be
past.
Nice.
And some of the things, some board members, I'm not gonna say who, have concerns about his fulfilling his obligations, and I think that,
The softball
in this
field.
case, I'm not gonna say this is a bad price, because it's probably a good price, but if it had detail, it'd be easier to,
Okay.
and it's simple, it's easier for him to break down the detail.
And I just don't have a lot of faith
Right,
that,
so,
The softball field was completely taken care of at his dime.
okay,
And
completely.
I can attest to that it's in good shape because I know
Mr.
an umpire that umpires those games.
Okay.
Mr. McKenna called me the day that they were out there and asked me if they were panning for gold. They actually hand screened the entire field and removed the
As they
rocks
should
and
have.
debris.
Right, it shouldn't have been like that to begin with, so whatever they have to do at his expense is the way it should have been done. But we should, also though, the other concern I have with that is we paid for clean fill. We paid X amount of money. We didn't get clean fill. So that, again, is just raising concerns. It's a red flag for me that I don't have a confidence level that we're gonna get what we pay for. I'm putting it out there, only because that's how it happened already.
I think Jesperson might serve him better if he came into a meeting and tried to, assuage some of the fears of his.
I don't think that's a bad idea. We pay them
'Cause
a
you're leaving
lot of
too,
money
huh?
every
Mhm.
year, and none of us, I wouldn't know him if he walked in the door right now.
I mean, when he bid the job, he was half the price of everybody else, so he does come in at a very low price. Being a developer.
But it's not always about
I agree with
cost.
that, I'm not
Okay.
finished with that.
All right.
As a
All right,
developer,
one at a time.
as a developer, if the budget is X, and it comes in half and I need extra money, I'll go with the low guy. OMG does the same thing.
Mhm.
And if it goes wrong, you try to fix it, but I think he'd best serve because he is here for a while.
Mhm.
And then just convince the board that he's gonna live up to his contract. In your absence especially, because nobody else is gonna be able to jump in
Yeah.
Right.
and defend him, or not, or.
I would just say on the softball field
listen
that,
before you, by the way.
yeah, I just say on the softball field that, the fill was purchased from a different vendor. It wasn't, there was another vendor that supplied the fill out of Milford. The gentleman in Milford, over the phone and not in writing, alluded that he had some mechanical issues with some of his equipment that was screening the fill, which some of the metal came from, not all the metal came from. There's been some discussions back and forth between Jesperson and that contractor over, some reimbursement dollars back on that fill. I don't know where that's going to go. It may end up going to some sort of litigation between Jesperson and him because Chase didn't feel as though that he should have had to pay for fill that was as bad as it was.
That's the point, nor should we. He put on his proposal, infield clay, and we didn't get infield clay, we got fill that is even considered clean fill.
John, he's responsible for what he puts in the ground, so he has to take full responsibility.
Right.
And he did.
Subcontract, I know
And he did. He stepped up and, he had his guys on that field for 2 days with magnets, with screens. They made the field what they needed to make it. Mike McKenna was happy. Other people have told me, the baseball coaches have told me they're happy with the end result. It's, and that was at his dime, so he made it right.
Gotcha.
So my only comment is what confused me about it is why would you lay it if it was filled with metal and kids were going to run on it? So I guess for me in the future, just if the material is not good,
and I can
put it in.
I can explain that as well. And whether you understand it or not, when the fill came in or the clay came in, and it is clay, but when it came in, it was wet. And so when it was wet, all of that clay was stuck to the metal pieces and they weren't easily seen until after the clay got spread out and it rained on it once. And then it started washing that clay off of the metal pieces and started exposing all of that stuff. Because, Chase and I had several conversations about why we didn't see the metal. And I was there and looked at the clay when they were putting it down. And I walked on that field after it was put down. We didn't see any metal on that field at that point.
And you assume it's screened when it arrives.
We assumed it was screened when that's what we paid for.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stay on topic of the actual driveway and the catch basins.
I have a question on the catch basin too.
Jeff.
So this quote for the catch basins is confusing to me. It's talking about the labor and the materials twice. So it's various services, talks about the removal, the installation of the new ones, all the materials needed provided, such as catch basins, new grates, blocks, risers, concrete, gravel, and class 2 pavement for each basin respectively. The very next line item is labor, delivery materials, and equipment needed to complete the job.
Right, that's the labor to perform.
Well, I think above is the explanation, and then that is the line item for the explanation because it has the pricing after it.
Sure. Well, there's.
But I'll have it broken down.
Okay.
Yeah, the total, the top is the material.
Yep.
Broken, divided by 2, as it gets, but he needs to break it down.
Yep. I'll break it down.
Thank you.
I do have one more question on the catch basins. That, I'm just familiar with what we do with Jesperson from a landscaping perspective. They actually do paving regularly. Is that part of their job? The part of his company is paving?
He's not a paving contractor, but he does do small jobs like this. He would do small paving jobs.
So they're going to cut out about 1.5 feet around the catch basin, and then take the gravel out and compact it.
Right.
Everybody does that.
Okay.
But I'm more concerned about him coming in.
I'd still like a breakdown. I'd still like to see a breakdown of all of it.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
What
Before
are we gonna do?
they approve it.
Yeah. Because we don't have, I'm not saying it, but there's a lack of trust right now. But although it should be.
Yeah. Any other questions on catch basins?
No.
So John, if you could just, on that same meeting we're gonna have, let's revise, get the proposal.
Well, right before the board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're gonna do the other one, then let's do that one as well. Just get an itemized proposal for us. And then we can take a look at it and move that to the full board the same evening. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's another question. Because it's under, is this the only quote we got, just because it's under the 10,000?
It's the only quote we got. Here, I'm gonna pass these ones around.
Is that different than the one in the packet?
Yes,
We
it's
have-
different.
Oh, it's
Oh, it is?
different?
Yeah. This one has the updated date.
So the one in the packet is not
So,
good.
so the one in the, all I did was I called this guy and I asked him to update if he would hold the price and update the date. That's what he did.
So this one is,
The same content.
It's the same exact thing, it just has a
Yeah.
different date.
Thank you for doing that.
It's like you knew what we were gonna ask, Jen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I did. Go ahead, next item.
Did you end up calling the insurance company?
Yes, I
Yeah.
called the insurance company. Our deductible is $25,000. And after having a discussion with the insurance company and filling them in on what transpired here, basically the roof has been leaking for many years, and the insurance company considers that negligence on our part that we didn't
Which
fix
it
it
is.
years ago,
Yeah.
and so they are not going to pay for it.
Okay.
Again, it goes to the issue of upkeep.
I will be shocked if this actually, the repair comes in at 9,500 when all is said and done. I just don't see how, once they start taking it apart,
You're right.
no, once they start taking it apart, and that's why I'm not comfortable signing off on a $9,500 bid with a company that we're not really familiar with. I guess it was the only one that came in, but,
Macri is respectable.
Okay.
They do, they're pretty active, but that's all I know. I've never used them, but they are.
I
they're
did
pretty
Google
fun.
them, they have good reviews and
Yeah.
stuff, which is good, but it just seems, given the damage that I've heard that's up there, and nobody's actually been up there
We're not
to
gonna
take
know.
apart shingle, right, so 9,500, they could spend 9,500 in plywood to replace the plywood.
Well, we're not stripping the roof off, we're shingling over the top of what's there.
Unless they hit plywood, that's it, that's.
There's gonna be rotted
that's-
plywood,
that's
they have
right.
to
There's no
replace it.
plywood on the roof, it's tongue and
Oh.
roof.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they won't have to replace that? Isn't there a hole,
Less
like,
than that.
aren't there
It's still-
holes right through?
There is a hole that you can see, it's about the size of a dime maybe,
Mhm.
just in one area.
But
Glenn and Ed were both up in the attic, they kind of took a look at what was up there, so they know what's there.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Okay.
So I mean,
Has
this,
anybody
because we're
been on
just,
the roof?
well, none of us.
Right. No. So I'm just saying, once he actually
Don't
gets
insure me
on the
for
roof,
that.
and I don't mean anybody here, I mean the guy that gave the quote, did he get on the roof?
The Tremco rep was up on the roof and looked at it.
Tremco is who, I'm sorry?
Tremco is the roofing manufacturer that offers all the warranties on the roofs that they provided materials for like middle school, Forbes, those, they're the,
And so Macri didn't go on the roof.
Macri did not go on
I
the
don't know how they can give an estimate of $9,500.
It's pretty good.
I don't know how you do that.
Well, they take the square footage.
But they didn't even see the damage. They didn't see the damage. You can't give a quote without
But
seeing
But
the
they're
damage.
they're not removing anything, they're going over what's there.
They're banned.
They're
But still,
band-aiding it
they
to
haven't
stop.
been up there to see how much they need to Band-Aid.
They're not
Call me
gonna-
crazy, but
no.
if I'm gonna paint something, like,
They're not gonna quote that way, but we have to.
why wouldn't they get on the roof and quote
Because
it
you gotta
that
rip the
way?
roof off to see how much damage. there
No,
is.
they could still get up there and
Which
even
they're
say,
not
they're
gonna
looking
do.
at one small part. Once they get up there,
I'm not gonna commit to it.
did they see it from the inside?
not to commit to what?
What's on
Walking
the
the roof?
Did they see
Hold
it?
on,
Did-
that's
What's
all.
on
I'm-
there?
So
They're not
So-
some
gonna-
of these roofing companies will quote based upon Google Maps, and they estimate the number of square that they're gonna need.
But without seeing the damage, they're estimating it on one
They-
spot that you saw.
Yeah, they pump out proposals, they have
Well,
some.
Let me give you an example of my son's house. And, hey, it's
Hey, Gary,
That's all right.
years old.
No, I don't need an
It's hard,
example.
it's hard to do.
Oh,
I don't need, that's all right.
My question is, did the Macri Roofing see it from the inside?
They did not.
But can I just tell you, the inside is the problem. It is flooding in Sue Ferguson's office, and then we actually had ceiling tiles falling out of the first floor
Well, that didn't
office.
just happen.
No,
That's
but I'm
been
just
ongoing,
saying,
so
this,
I get-
we kind of need a Band-Aid.
Well, we could have used a Band-Aid for how long has it been leaking into Sue's office? A long time, right? So I get, we need a Band-Aid.
Here,
Thank you.
ask this
It's
question.
just,
Do we have a
kinda-
contingency of some sort? How much of a contingency you should try to allocate something for contingency, if you can. Is there any,
You can't
I'm
without
gonna
putting it out to
guesstimate
bid.
20-25%.
well, we're not gonna know until he strips it off.
At least.
He's not, but he's not
I-
gonna
I-
strip
not
it.
There's no
No,
way
no,
it's gonna be
once he gets up there, he's gonna
9,500,
take the
which
roof.
He's just
legally
gonna
No,
might
he's not,
it should
he's
go up
not
to
stripping
bid.
anything off. He's gonna roof over the top of what's there.
Or is it gonna
Yeah,
tell?
so unless he
They're only
walks.
He's
through a
going,
hole-
he's going over what's there.
In all seriousness, he's just going
And we
over.
hope that's
It's
What
fine.
if he
Cold,
finds all
instead of
these-
putting the heat up, we put on 2 extra sweaters. That's what we're doing.
That's right.
Ideally,
Yeah, we're
So
not,
he's gonna,
you don't know that.
he's gonna shingle over what you tell him he needs to shingle over?
We selected the area of the roof that has the damage that's causing the leak, and he's shingling over what's there.
Okay,
you wouldn't find the extensive damage unless you stripped it,
right.
which we're not gonna do because the lifetime of this building occupancy is.
And it's not going over this dollar amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
And counting.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody puts a foot through it in the roof and it goes through the shingles because it's rotted,
Yeah,
yes,
hold on,
they're gonna come
one,
back.
one at a time. Let's keep this a little organized here. Jeff, go ahead.
I was just answering Ellen's question that they're gonna go up on the roof, they're gonna shingle over, unless one of their technicians puts a foot through a hole or feels an enormous sag in the roof, they're going over the top of it. Now, if their foot goes through the roof because it's rotted, obviously they're gonna come back to us with a change order and say, hey, guys, you have to fix this. But the idea is just straight over the top to get it patched in for a couple of years.
It's gotta be done.
And look the other way at all
It's gotta
possible.
be
Just
done.
think it's gonna
My
be more
own-
than 9,500 at
I'm not
some point.
disagreeing.
More than likely, it's probably gonna, so to Gary's question, is there some kind of contingency that we have in a bucket somewhere?
You may have to
I would
resort to
say 15 to 25% of this proposal, that if it does go over,
We'll not have a choice.
we're actually not gonna have a choice, but we might as well plan for it, make sure we plan for it. I mean,
So I'm not saying we can't. do
Can't
that.
plan for it.
We just have to.
It's not written, no, it's written,
No,
this
we
is
would
the
have to
estimate.
handle it
That's
as
why
it-
I think
We'd have to handle it as it comes, otherwise we'll have to put this out to bid, but it can be done that way. Because we have some extra money in certain maintenance-related line items and other places.
Yeah.
If somebody puts their foot through the roof,
Yeah, that's.
we'll be able to
Yeah.
manage it. It just means we won't necessarily be able to spend our surplus money on other things that we wanted to.
That's
Okay.
the only time they're gonna
John,
do
when
that,
would he
so.
be doing this?
Hopefully, the dry season.
I think once it gets approved, I would get a schedule on him. I don't know what his schedule is at this point. Remember that this bid came in January.
Yeah.
And we're now in May talking about it, so I don't know what his timeline is on getting it done, but
Okay.
as soon as it gets approved, we
Was
would,
there any specifications or anything or drawing that shows, hey, this is the section of roof that's gonna be done? Because if
yeah.
you go off into your next endeavor,
Yeah,
somebody
there is
can pick up.
there is a Google map that has a red outline of the area of the roof that is gonna be
Okay.
recovered.
Okay,
And,
just so that if we have a
Yeah.
leg to stand on, the new guy's here and
Yeah.
they do the other side of the roof and like, whoa, we're supposed to do this side, at least we have something that's showing.
Number 2 here also has a little
Explains
bit,
that.
it references that.
South side of the roof.
But it does say, south-facing roof area specified by Tremco. So the bid document also says where they're supposed to do it.
There's more than one south facing.
Yes, but that's why it's specified by Tremco.
Okay,
I just wanna say one more thing.
go ahead.
When a roof leaks, it may look like it's coming, and you probably know this, it may look like it's coming from one spot, but water comes in many different directions.
yeah, that's why we want to cover the whole side of the roof.
Hopefully that's the part that you're not gonna run into another part of it without looking at it, just, I can't wrap my head around.
That's why the
Doing it
Tremco, that's why
without-
the Tremco rep was here. He's an expert in roofs, he was
And
here.
he said, do this part, that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just have one other logistical question.
Logistics.
Can people park in the back while they're doing this work? Or would we have to, just such a weird parking lot here?
Yeah, we'd have to, we'd probably have to come up with some logistics on that, while the work is getting done. They're not, like I said, they're not stripping, but there is some material debris that's gonna be on the roof, so, we'll have to work with the vendor on that.
I'm assuming in and out in a day. It's not a huge roof. They'll be done in a day, I'm guessing, since they're going over the top.
Anybody need their car refinished?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, right? My neighbor just did that with a tree. down on my yard.
It really needs to be done. The amount of water that comes in is ridiculous, so, this is why can I make a motion to move this to the full board?
Yeah, I move to send this to the full board.
second.
Add in Jeff.
Aye. It's super in the dry office.
All right, there we go, my favorite, I've been waiting for this.
I'm sorry, can I just ask one more question on this? Should this be treated as like an emergency repair, remember? So that they could start getting on that guy's schedule at least?
What advantage do we get by saying it's an emergency repair?
2 weeks now.
Right,
Right.
we wouldn't have to wait 2 more weeks that we think this is,
Oh, really?
well, there's enough people
We
here.
have the
like
board here.
Right.
The whole board is
So then
here.
the budget could
Except
just
Kathy.
say,
Did you say
let's
that?
proceed on an emergency basis, and then you could notify the board at the
I
meeting.
don't object to that at all. I think it's a good idea.
Well, I'll make a motion to make this an emergency
I mean,
repair.
unless anybody here, because if they
Get over
could
it.
repair something on an
over
emergency
it.
basis, but if we have water coming in like that, I think we should.
We understand this to be an emergency.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yep.
now some people are gonna be doing the roof, so we don't want to get.
The bottom of the list.
Yeah.
And then the board can endorse that. 2
Right,
weeks.
because then John will be gone at the end of the month, and it's just a very. Right.
He knows
So we
that.
can state that at the board meeting that we determined it was emergency repair.
Right, and that way, not to give you more work, John, but that way you can start getting it.
Gary, I want a hug at the last board meeting.
I would- I'm gonna do-
Framework for that?
I want to defer to my legal
No, I don't
counsel.
know. That entitles a committee, a subcommittee of the Board of
Well,
Education.
technically,
to-
central office can do emergency. stuff at
Oh,
any
that's,
time.
okay, that
So-
makes more sense to me.
Oh, so we don't have to
If we
answer.
treat it as an emergency repair, I think it's just better, because then,
I see,
Okay.
right,
We're
and then
not
you
gonna
guys
be
can
So-
execute and notify.
So we're gonna execute it as emergency
And then the
repair,
budget will
and we're
notify
gonna,
us.
we're gonna report at the next
budget, building, oh my God,
board
Facilities.
meeting.
board meeting.
Yeah, okay, all right, so be it.
I'm still Alice, right, you guys are making me Alice.
So if it leaks, it's your fault.
Okay, there we
You
go.
voted for
We'll
it.
both be gone. It's
So
all
now
good.
John can move it.
Whatever you want to say. Sue Ferguson will let us know it's leaking.
All right, everybody's on board with that. Excellent.
Yep.
There we go.
Let's go, THS parking.
Okay, I want to commend our juniors for being so patient.
Mhm.
But however, okay, short of having drone footage every day to see what's really going in the parking lot, which Mr. Berger suggested recently, this is my report, okay?
Excellent.
So we've lived through it for almost a year. We have 21 more school days, and then we have finals, which start on June 12th. During the hours of 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, it is very, very difficult to get a parking space at Torrington High School. I understand that in the mornings, it looks like there are spaces. In the afternoons, there looks like there are spaces. I can tell you myself that I am parking in people's parking spots who I know are not there that day. So just to get a spot if I go to a meeting during those times, because they don't exist. There are 11 visitor spots. There are spots in the tech wing, which we have space for 4 cars over there. But when the auto shop does car repairs, that also cuts down on that area as well. So it does make it problematic. It's not best case scenario for the juniors. They've been very, very patient. It's likely to be the same for next year's juniors. What we are offering to our juniors this year is once finals begin, that 6/12 and on, they'll be able to have a spot. They'll know where their spot is for next year. I know that the administration's sending out information on signing up for a spot, getting all the information so that they're ready to have their spot that week of June 12th. It's just hard while we're going through the construction. It's just a reality.
How many spots are the tradesmen taking up? I know it's a lot.
The tradesmen are using
Lower.
that down
using
by
anything
the play area, by the swim, by the
Oh, they're not
pool
parked in
and
the
the,
local-
no,
in the
they
local tech
park
lot?
down,
No,
they
they're
park
in
down
that
there and then they
fenced
walk
area.
up.
The public
Well,
parking.
Yeah.
We'll beg to differ, some of the tradesmen do park in the lower lot.
I meant I'm talking about,
But they're not using the THS lot.
No, the lower lot is not considered a THS.
that's
Right.
right.
So that the small
The
overflow.
the lower, the
It's
lower
gonna
lot
continue
and
it's
the
gonna get worse.
parking on the street, I talked with Dustin. The lower lot and the parking on the street is, it's at-will parking. So whoever gets there
City
first
parking.
gets, it's city parking. Whoever gets there first gets to
I'm looking
use
for
it.
next year because we're gonna have double the tradesmen there.
The tradesmen right now on the site are roughly about 85. And when this phase of the construction is done, they're going to ramp up to 150.
Right.
So the
The
parking
lot
is going to
parking
keep.
has diminished as more trades come on site. The lot parking is usually filled up by 6:45. And the street parking is getting very slim to find.
I could speak to that too, because I have my own parking tag there and my own assigned spot, and it's very often that I do not get to park in it because somebody's already parked there. Especially if I have to leave and go to another building and come back, I'll come back to my spot being filled.
Have them towed.
This is where, in the normal parking.
Yeah,
lot, right?
really.
Up
Yeah.
top?
Yeah, where she's already assigned.
Yeah, so,
So who parks in her spot?
That
it's
one wasn't
different
me.
people all the, it's not you, yeah, it's different all the time. It's never, the same person, but I'm assuming, I don't know.
Who
if
knows?
it's
Right,
students or
exactly.
subs, or I have
Somebody
no
who just
idea.
comes and goes and can't find a parking space, which
Absolutely,
is the
yeah.
difficulty.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm gonna just put on record that I have been there after 10 o'clock and I still count around 40 to 60 available parking spots. So I don't really know where the discrepancy comes in, but they're, in the late morning when I take my drive through is trying to find things, seems to be ample parking, and I just find it hard to believe.
Have you brought photos for us?
I do have videos on my phone if you'd like to see. But I
Well,
think that would be at
I've
a
gone
different
too.
time.
I went there for the school improvement committee walk around and there were a lot of, this was 9 o'clock, there were a
Right.
lot of spaces, all numbered. I mean, somebody belonged in them if they had been there, but it's a shame for a site to be open if someone,
There is senior privilege that we got to consider, usually period
Right.
1 and periods 2, so there will be kids that come in, seniors that come in that have senior privilege that don't park there until third period. But that's generally after the 9:45, 10 o'clock hour.
well, I left at 10 o'clock and they were still open sites.
I'd
And I'm not
agree.
disagreeing with what Sue was saying or what Rachel's saying, I'm just saying that my experience was there were spots, but who knows whose spots
But they're all
they were.
assigned, so it could be that
correct.
Right.
someone was absent
Yeah.
or,
Well, that was gonna be my question. So every
Yeah.
spot that can be assigned is assigned to somebody with a vehicle who's indicated they want it.
Correct.
So what would the alternative solution be? I'm not,
So-
I'm familiar with this, so.
Hold on one second, Gary. So you issued parking passes to students that said they wanted one.
No, they issued them to students who had a license, and then they filled out the application, and then they got assigned a number, and then they were able to park in that spot. But they had to have their license.
Do we?
So
That's-
same
that's
thing,
contrary
you're
to what
going
I was
to,
told in September.
but you're still, well, that's the way it's working now. Juniors are going to get the application, the parking permit application within the next week. And so then you'll see one for yourself at home, have to be filled out, then they submit it. All of our seniors should be able to get a spot.
Yeah, is there an increase in the number of seniors from this year to next year?
I don't think it's significant, but I'll send it to the board.
Just
Yep,
curiosity. If it's not significant, then that's fine. We don't need an exact number.
okay.
Another, not really concern, but just a noteworthy point. Going to building committee meetings, I had heard that it was understood that back by the fields where the gates are,
Mhm.
that circle and that road, according to the building committee, that we're not supposed to park back there because that was an agreement between the building committee and the town. Is there, does anybody recall
On
that?
those streets, yes, back by the back gate,
Yeah,
yes.
along those
That was the
apartments?
agreement.
Okay, well, there are school officials that are telling junior kids that go park back there. And this morning, there was cars from the circle all the way back down to the corner. So we're telling kids to park there. I mean, granted, there's very limited places they can go. Anybody who does drive. Unfortunately, I don't want to get Board of Ed get into trouble with the building committee because we're telling kids to
We
park there.
already
they're
had
not
that
supposed to.
argument with the city, so they definitely cannot park back there.
Well, they
And
wouldn't
you're
be
not
up to us,
supposed to
it's up
have,
to
if you don't have a spot, you're not supposed to be driving to school.
That's right, the
So-
students have no absolute right to.
Right.
to
But,
park.
but we're not responsible if they park there, but if kids park there.
Right.
They
we're
do.
not.
They
run the risk.
will be,
They
they
run the
will be
risk of being
ticketed.
They will be
They
ticketed.
run the
and
risk.
towed.
But the
Yeah,
kids
that's
want to take
all
a
right.
chance, I'm okay with it. I mean, no,
Well,
excuse me.
They
But-
probably shouldn't be told to park there.
Right,
To
that's what
Glenn's
I'll
point,
check into.
Right.
Sure, I know, I agree with
but
that, I'm just
If
saying.
they do, then yeah, that's,
those kids are out there.
There's no parking signs over there as part of the problem.
There aren't.
There are no parking signs.
are no.
That
no
whole
parking
main
signs.
drive.
Yeah, double negative sign. There are signs.
There
on
are no
Do it every day
parking
in front of my building.
signs.
There are, okay.
So they do exist,
They
Yes.
exist, so it's clearly at the responsibility of the person who
Okay.
parks their car.
right? And park
Yeah,
at
so
your own
they want
risk,
it
kind
to-
of thing. Yep.
So,
There's no
are there
signs.
any excess parking spaces now, or are we?
No, there are no
If it
excess,
was me,
that's
I
the
would
all the
go
seniors.
under
Right, so the
roof.
seniors will
Right.
have spots, and I believe that it's not a huge class, significant gains, but I'll check the numbers and I can share that with the board.
We have to scrape up
That'd be
some
good.
spaces somewhere, if we go over on seniors, but.
Well, and then we can
don't wanna
talk with
beat
the
a dead
building
horse
committee
here,
about
but-
the construction folks, because that's a dilemma.
Okay.
So how many parking spots are there in the high school right now?
I don't know.
277.
There you go.
Who
Thank you,
knows
John.
how many parking spots are?
You want to know how many square feet
of?
of buildings we have too?
No. How many parking spots are in the building committee project for the new school?
We'd have to find out. I don't know.
I think it's
Something.
I don't remember.
386.
Plus the lower level. I
Plus the
think,
lower lot,
Which was
Yeah.
386?
No, plus the lower level.
plus the lower lot.
Yeah.
Almost 500?
It's almost
Once
500
it's
with the
almost,
lower
yeah.
lot.
The lower parking lot where ONG is now.
Yep.
Becomes 160 spaces, 140.
140.
Yeah,
But so many are designated.
Yes.
They're
The
designated for
30
the park, but they
are
won't
at
be
the
parking there in
front
the morning
end.
anyway.
No, we did set aside.
Well, they have to be
some
available.
for the tech too, right?
No,
No.
just 30 for the city.
Just for the city. But you're right, that'll be awful hours.
When are they opening up that spot?
You just keep in mind when the first building's built, then they still need to demo the other building.
It's gonna be
Right.
there for a
It's
while.
gonna be staging.
They're gonna be for a while.
Right.
And the 24, but if we're lucky. Well, they're gonna demo it, well.
No,
it's-
so February 2025,
Right.
high school moves, they demolish the
Yeah,
high
Starts in
school,
March.
and then middle school moves in that
December,
fall,
maybe,
2025. Well, they're hoping for fall.
It is.
That's gonna be a quick
I don't know where the
demolition.
tradesmen are gonna park. I hope they plan that, they have to have that.
And then they'll do the
Once-
gym.
Once that building gets going, there's gonna be a lot of trades in there.
Yeah.
And having a kid that's a junior that can't find parking, and I used to complain at her, just leave earlier, but I went one morning and it was the lower lot, the street by the pool.
Well, that's all.
I mean,
tech.
there's,
That's all tech.
Tech's taking most of those.
That's
well, no, it's really tradesmen.
A lot of tradesmen.
Lot of
These
construction.
techies come in a little bit
Yes,
later,
yeah.
but
You can tell, they got their hard hats. and
there
they got
is
their-
no place to park anywhere.
No.
Goes down King Street.
So I don't know if there's anything we could do to get a little bit of latitude
We tried to get.
Yeah,
with the
we
city
can,
at
yeah.
all.
No, we've tried.
And the other
What's
thing
their
is too,
reasoning?
It's city.
But they just don't want anybody to park there, that's their reasoning?
Where?
Behind the high
where the
school.
apartments are.
Yeah, no, they're.
No.
That was something that
No
was
reason?
discussed
It's
with
just-
the
yeah.
zoning
Yeah,
department.
we had
Yeah.
zoning
Yeah.
and.
They
Zoning
came out.
department made
Are
it
there,
that
there
in
are
the
signs, or there is not,
There are
There are.
signs.
that say no parking anytime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, They also made it adamant that they didn't want that to be used for students' arrival
Mhm.
and
They
departure,
don't want it-
Only
And we
buses.
had to have a fight about the bus.
Yep.
And it is gated now. The gates are working back there, and they are closing at overnight. At 3:30 they close, and they open at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. They're letting buses
I think
in.
it's 6:30.
We
Yeah.
did talk, Mario talked to Lowe's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
That's
spent
Tried
time in
that.
Yeah.
that parking lot. And there's a couple hundred parking spaces back there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that stops it.
Right, we're
Parking at
gonna
Lowe's,
just
right.
shift kids over, have mini buses or
Yeah,
big
they said
buses,
no.
just
Right,
Oh,
they
Lowe's said no?
wouldn't, they wouldn't
Yeah.
give us
Transport them.
permit to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't-
Because you had to talk to corporate and corporate doesn't know the area, so corporate said no.
and that car.
It's a liability.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a rough
That
lot.
was a good.
Yeah.
It's not been maintained and behind that building in decades.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Then
but
they'll tell them.
Okay, we're gonna move on, beating a dead horse here. Parking's a problem, it stinks, but we have to deal with it. Thankfully for you, Sue and
Bring it up
John.
again to the building committee.
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's a good.
228,000 square feet, just in case you want to know. So
What was it?
728,000 square feet total square feet of facilities.
including this
Ooh,
one.
okay. Thank you.
Radio update.
Okay, so we did get all of the training. NORCON came out. They went to every single building on our last PD day, which was where exactly? Who's the PD day?
Third
Remember the date?
Thursday, PLC day? you
PLC
mean?
day?
Yeah, it was the last Thursday. That was an early release, which was April, it was later, 27th,
27th.
because of the vacation.
Yeah, so they were out on the 27th. They went to every single building. One building we had to reschedule, but they did come back the following week. That was Forbes. We've seen, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people who received the training that said that there was a lot of things about the radios that they did not know. Radio communication seems to have increased dramatically, better. They're using more language like they should be using, like when they're done with a dispatch, using the words over and out, 10-4, good buddy. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Breaker.
Yeah. So it's improved. We're still waiting for the exchanges to come back. So some of them are out now. They haven't come back yet, and then we'll exchange the next 15 radios, and then they'll come out, and then all exchanges will be back, and then hopefully that
So
will.
what are the stages? We're in 2 waves?
They were in 2 waves, yeah.
So the first wave's complete? We already got-
First wave's out. We're waiting for them to come back. They're due back any
okay.
day.
Okay, that was pretty quick turnaround then, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So we really don't know if, until we get those back, that the technical issues have been resolved or not.
Yeah, we won't know that until they get back, and obviously they'll stay on top of that, and if there's continued issues, then they'll NORCOM has been great about staying on top of this and making sure they have not been paid in full. There's still $30,000 hanging out there that remains to be paid out on the contract, so. And they won't accept the $30,000 until radios are in and we're satisfied.
Excellent. Any questions anybody else has on radios? Any PTO feedback on radios?
No?
All right. Topics for future meetings.
Well, the catch basins breakdown.
Yeah, you're gonna have the Torrington, well,
We'll want that.
No, that'll be
Hopefully
done.
that's gonna go to
driveway
the
will go to
full
the
board.
meeting, yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
Catch
No,
basins
the
is
catch
emergency.
basin
Catch
is
basins.
done.
Yeah.
It's just a special meeting.
True.
So how do we delineate that?
No, you just put it on the list. Topics for future meetings is just future meeting stuff.
Yeah.
It's not binding.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you to put on the square footage and available space at all the buildings.
728,000.
No, for
each building.
When the new school comes, we have to start looking at that.
Square footage report.
Just like what we could use each building for, that's all.
163,000 at the middle school, 54,000 at Southwest.
But
we're not-
we also by classroom,
Yeah,
we need to know
classroom
what's
breakdown.
available.
What doesn't.
Told you I was full of useless information.
You can always buy a portable together.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Those
God,
babies
never
are-
Oh,
again.
25 years.
I lived
know,
with
went-
those.
I went
Oh
to
my
school with
God.
them.
Those are a disaster.
We had those at
First grade, I was-
Forbes.
Rachel, when would you have that 5-year plan for everything? You think you're gonna have that by maybe the end of the year, or?
I have them coming out to do an assessment. Trying to check on a date real quick, hang on.
Who does the assessment?
The name of the company is escaping me. Omnidata is the company.
Is this our regular vendor?
No, but this was a recommendation through Nick DiAgostino. They're coming out on June 19th to do an assessment.
You're gonna do an assessment of,
like what we currently have, what we want to install, etc.
okay,
So it wouldn't
June
be
17th?
19th.
19th, so it wouldn't be
That
till
Monday.
after then.
It still
June
can go
19th, So
on
it's after our next
future,
meeting.
but it
and-
still can go on future.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're gonna do it next meeting.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Nothing? Comments for the good of the order? I'm gonna start this one off. I'd like to thank John for his years of service here. I'm sorry to see you go. I know we're kind of a tough bunch sometimes, but hopefully where you're going, they're not as tough.
They're worse.
It's Newtown, they'll be worse. People show up to those meetings.
Definitely some recognition warranted here, and I just wanted to say thank you, John. It was nice meeting you. I know I haven't been here long, but it's been a pleasure, and good luck in your future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
He was moving to Newtown, by the way.
Sue?
Is he?
No, I echo what Glenn says. We're sorry to see you go. Thank you for everything, especially for putting up with us, me. Good meeting, Glenn.
You'll be missed, same. We'll get you at one more meeting.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Thank all you guys for giving me the opportunity, believing in me. I appreciate it. It's been a very humbling experience to take this journey and to listen to all of the things that people have had to say about my term here, and so I'm very proud of what we've done here, and Torrington always holds a special place in my heart.
Oh. Make me cry.
I want my hug.
Next week.
Gotta wait till the full board.
Awkward.
Awesome job, John. More words to follow in our other gatherings.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, John. In my limited time, it's been great getting to know you and work with you. I really appreciate all the effort over the years.
We did television together, you know.
Television.
Do you remember the CAFTA television event?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
We did television
Wow.
together. That's
Yeah.
true. We're going to be famous.
Bonding.
But thank you.
Thank you, John, for the time we spent together and what you showed me.
I'm a little mad at you, but I wish you luck.
Ooh.
And, good luck, and won't be goodbye, it'll be see you soon.
That's right.
We're all going to his next board meeting in Newtown.
Yeah.
Make
Oh
sure
my
you
God,
have
that would
that
be
Zoom
great.
link.
Exactly. Be in the audience.
And
Audience
public
comments.
comment.
Yes.
Oh, that
I was
might be
just thinking.
fun.
Ooh, road
It would
trip.
lighten the
Yeah.
mood for you.
Field trip.
I echo what everyone else said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same here. We tried to humble you. It seemed to have worked. Based on your comments, you were humbled, so it
I
worked.
was humbled.
You did a great job.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, John. We're going to miss you. I'm sure we're going to miss you.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you for all your hard work, although I will spare you the rest until your real last meeting.
I have a prepared statement for that meeting.
Uh-oh.
Might involve them.
No names, no names.
Motion, anybody
Is
on
there-
the public, anybody on the line there that wants to say anything? Or they
No,
got-
I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna say anything because I live next door to him every day, so.
Yeah.
You have
Talk to me every
time.
day about his decisions, so, I'll make sure I give you a nice, guilt trip tomorrow morning again.
Well,
So.
thanks, Kim.
Sue?
Yeah, I'm going to save my comments for John till the end of the month, but I would like to thank the rest of you for a new roof. Thank you very much.
The Prentice tried to stop it, but we got to.
I did not.
Motion to
I was
adjourn.
trying to get a better.
All in favor? All right.
Yep, I know where you live,
Hoo, hoo,
Sue,
hoo.
just saying.
I
Yeah.
know. Marissa, you have that. Gary is excused. Teacher representative, Mr. Lafreniere is excused. He has a family matter he's dealing with the last couple of weeks, so he couldn't make it tonight either.
Oh, but you have enough.
All right. Call to order, roll call. Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Ned and Jeff.
Opposed? Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Ed and Jeff again.
Josh, anyone on the public line?
No, there is not.
Excellent. All right, I would, oh, shoot, we have to go back. I need to add an item to the agenda. Sorry about that, Scott. I want to add, we'll do it under monthly financials, so it'll become B, RFP food service.
I'll amend my motion.
I'll second
Thank you.
the amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll start with monthly financials.
Sure. So if you look at this month's package, you'll notice a noticeable change from our prior months because we put in the money for the reading curriculum. So, as it stands right now, as long as nothing, an emergency happens or
Knock on wood.
we get some, it looks like we're going to land around the $200,000 mark. And if I look at the forecast from the prior month to this month, it was pretty accurate. So I'm pretty comfortable with the 200 again, as long as, and I've spoken to all the department heads, as long as I didn't miss something that wasn't encumbered, which I don't think I did at this point.
Yeah.
And, nothing material happens. I think that's
Yeah,
where we're
number.
looking to end.
Great. Right.
That's
a whole other thing. We don't want to
No,
talk
but
about that.
again, I spoke to all the department heads, so I actually did put some monies in for the repairs that the board was voting on this.
Oh, good. So you have that
So
covered.
That's, yeah, so that should be covered.
So there's a big,
The jump.
right, there's a big deficit in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, is that the same? Is that where is it in supplies on this one?
It's,
Where is it?
yes, it's in
pick it-
supplies.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right. Anybody have any questions on this high level, Jeff?
It's in the detail, but it's
Oh, okay.
523101 and 02, the annuity.
What page?
It's on page 2 of 6 of the detail report.
Love Ellen, she always gets that for us.
Sorry.
It just seems we're over
52, sorry.
523101 and 02. It's the annuity accounts, union and non-union. They are overall together on budget, but it almost looks like either somebody's not in the union that was, or backwards, or it's just miscategorized per line for the annuity, because we're over budget by like 30,000 and short in the other one.
Yeah, Jeff, I'll look into those. I don't have an answer for you
That's
tonight,
okay.
'cause, but I will.
Wasn't sure if you were aware of it. Maybe something happened that we just didn't.
No, nothing has happened that I'm aware of, but, we'll check on it.
Okay.
No, they get it. That may be the special education supervisors who at one point were non-union and now I believe are.
One of them is, one isn't. Remember?
Right, so
So
that
we know
may be
budgeted
the
them.
shift.
Yeah.
Yes,
Could be.
it was just one. Yep.
It was worth.
So we can check.
Yeah, just write that.
Oh, I do have one more question. I ask it every time, but the OT wages custodian are still continuing to climb.
What number?
It's 5130.80 on the second page. It was just mentioned previously, we weren't going
And
to.
I think to your point, Jeff, it's not questioning the actual wages, it's whether or not we'll have enough money in the budget for next year
Right,
to cover the
exactly.
costs, right?
Because
Yeah.
I asked about it once and it was, so we're gonna stay at 80 or 85,000, but the number keeps going. So whatever the mitigating issue is that's causing it to go over, we didn't hire, there's no new staff members in the budget for next year for custodial. Just curious.
So what I've been doing to kind of understand what is going into these accounts and these departments is looking at history. So actually what I did is I ran a 3-year history. And, I've noticed that we, kind of running at historic levels. So, but, we have delved into that and, we know some of it's contractual OT. And, I'll just do a little bit more diligence on the account.
Okay.
And then we could just make sure that we do have enough for next year.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I think that was my questions.
I just think it would be helpful, I'm not sure if there's a way that we could do it, if we could separate what's our overtime versus what's all these other groups' overtime? Because it still flows through
Right.
here, but the revenue doesn't show here, so I think it makes.
Right, the
it
revenue does
confusing.
That's
not
the
show.
problem.
So I
Right,
wonder
so
if
it
there's a way
may
to
come out in the wash
separate
if
it
we're
out.
seeing the revenue, right?
Or if we could just see like
And we
it's
will see
broken
that.
down by an outside organization that's paying for the custodian versus our
Us paying their
custodial
salaries and
overtime.
overtime.
Yeah, and there's a nice spreadsheet that someone has put together that captures all that.
Yeah, I
So,
think that'll be helpful.
Oh, good.
I could kind of
Maybe
do that
make
as
it
an
part of
addendum or
our
something.
budget packet.
Yeah.
Right,
Even
yeah.
this will help this evening too,
Yes.
I just
Yes,
think it's
but
also
about that amount.
Erica should be captured.
It's just with the
Yeah.
custodian, right, because they're working
Sure.
events, which is different.
Then,
But yes, we
Right,
could
right.
definitely add as an addendum to the monthly financials.
Yeah.
And then I'll stop asking
Quarterly, I can
questions.
see.
No,
yeah,
Jeff,
quarterly.
No, no, it ends up-
Jeff, I'm
Has it?
learning just as much from your questions as you are, believe me.
Years of strange ad arum accounting practices, which are all very above board, and I don't want to imply otherwise, but they're always a little bit kooky.
Because he started with pencil and paper, so
Right. Yes.
he knows it all
And
and
he knew every
has
dot,
it, and
every
exactly,
cent. Oh, right.
yep, for
Right.
sure,
Yeah.
so we're just catching up to.
And saved every napkin that he written.
Yeah, right,
Throw the note
exactly,
on.
Yeah.
he's got it.
Okay, any more questions on the detail level?
No,
Thank you.
just I really like that summary sheet at the start.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I know, it's so helpful.
That is
It's the
phenomenal.
first thing I go to when we get the
Yeah,
packet.
It makes life easier.
Yeah.
right.
So let's talk about the RFP food service.
Sure, so, I think Sue mentioned the administrative review that we had, which was really great. I just want to add that they actually, using some of the pictures that they took in, like just Sage's presentation, so that's how they were impressed. But as they were doing the admin review, Fanula Brown, who is the head there, kind of went back and talked to Andy Paul, who's in charge of the department there too, you know, saying the uniqueness of how Torrington's set up were kind of quasi self
Oh, right,
food
self-run
service
versus.
versus having so we all got together on another call with everybody. Sue was on the call also, and they just decided that they'd like us to go out for RFP, which is fine because we basically had the RFP 90% completed
Ready to go
anyway, because I
anyway.
just wanted to make sure that we're all set, because originally we thought we had to go out to RFP, and then they said, no, you don't have to go to RFP, so now they decided we had to. So I just wanted to make the board aware.
Okay,
You know, don't really expect anybody because of the way we delineated what we wanted and, you know, what we're doing, because we're incorporating, bringing them back to us. I don't anticipate
People knocking on the
anybody
door
really
now.
yet to knock in, but, so we made our first submission on Friday, last Friday. They came back with a couple questions. We had a couple dates wrong. We resubmitted Monday, and we're just waiting to hear from them now. And then, well, we do have a little bit of time because we don't have a summer program. Ed Advance takes care of that, so we weren't under any time constraints to get it out. We just wanted to get it out, just to get it done.
yeah, good, okay.
Yeah.
Any
They-
questions on that? I don't have any
I just want to
questions.
say, they were very impressed with the way things were going and how we all work together at Advance and the district, or CAF managers or CAF workers, and just our staff. So it's
And
pretty
how they treated
seamless,
with the
it's
kids,
wonderful.
Yeah,
like, they
Yeah,
really liked the way they
That's good.
interacted with the
It is a great relationship. It has
Yeah.
been for so many years. That's great. Good, all right. Grant updates.
so just in the grant, in the budget packet, just gives you a breakdown of our grants. These are, IDA, the entitlement grants. Those are federal grants that we receive every single year. They do have some carryover that we can keep in the budget. So it does help. You can only carry over 10% of the total budget from year to year. We are accountable. We report back to the state 3 times a year so that they know, they keep tabs on what we've drawn down, what we're doing. They have to actually approve each grant. The difficulty is, as I mentioned at the Board of Finance, we usually don't get our exact figures until October.
Yeah.
So we kind of have a sense
Kind
of
of
what we're
guesstimate,
getting,
yeah.
right? It has typically stayed about the same. Primarily in most of the grants that you see, it does cover our staffing. In IDA, that is a special ed grant, so you see a lot of special ed teachers and special ed services, paraprofessionals, special programs teachers, even pre-K. The IDEA 619 is pre-K funding. The IDEA that you see at the IDEA 619 is at the bottom, pre-K, and IDEA 611 is at the top. So that's from K to 12.
And the grants, they want you to use the money on faculty.
For
staff.
primarily, yes, they
Primarily,
know
yes.
that that's what you're going to use it for.
Yeah.
It
And
really
they
helps to
kind of
support.
Stress that that's what you should use it for.
Right.
Also, yeah.
So for Title I, it's all about special ed. When you flip the page over and you go to for IDEA, it's special ed. That's the first page. For the second page, it's Title I, which our Title I schools are, and if you've been on the board for a long time, you know this, the state will not allow us to change our schools, even though we have redistricted. So our Title I schools are Southwest, Forbes, and Vogel still. We repeatedly ask them if we can include Torrington, and they say no. Just
That's so ridiculous.
it is. It really,
It's
really
so
is.
ridiculous.
Is there like a
We have-
periodic reassessment for that program, or is it just, you
How
know,
many
if
years
your,
have we
if your
been-
school had lots
we-
of poor kids 30 years ago, then you get
It's
to.
forever, you're.
It's kind of like that in their minds, because they say, well, the housing around the school is more affluent than the housing around some of our other schools. So
Is that a federal
But it's-
requirement? Because Title I's federal dollars.
it is federal
Yeah.
dollars, right? But you have to appeal to your state.
Right.
And then they'll make that appeal on the federal level. But
You would
we've
think they
done
would
this
take
every
that
year. Correct.
Redistricting into consideration.
Sister
Oh, it's just
schools,
maddening.
all
I
of
know,
that.
Like,
It
gee
might be a
whiz.
federal requirement. That
Right.
It's, you know, within so many.
That's what I,
Miles
They're
of
trying to-
development.
Right.
Of-
yeah.
The wealth
Based on
of the
cost of
relative,
living and the
yeah.
housing market.
And it's
and-
probably
and that's
census tract
essentially
based.
it.
Um,
Correct.
Yep, so there's no way to even debate it if it's
Yeah,
census tract based.
Unless you want to like deliberately, you know, mess up the houses, make them cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
that
most-
is the issue.
Roofs that leak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. So Title I funds, obviously you can see funds are Title I schools and interventions. So they are really looking for you to give supplemental services such as intervention, the coaching piece, the paras, our translators. A lot of our EL or our family engagement, there has to be a family engagement component to that Title I. So you see that range of staffing in the Title I. Title II is really about professional development primarily. Included within the Title II grant, we also need to give funding to our private schools. So there is a set aside for that. In Title I, we have to do a set aside for homeless, and there are private school funds set aside for that as well. So that's a requirement. We don't get to choose whether we do or we don't. And then in Title III, that is basically bilingual services, EL services type of grant. And then obviously bilingual is self-explanatory. We try to really ensure that we are going to have tutors, particularly at the secondary level in both Title III and bilingual grant, because it gets harder and harder for our students to really have, there's gaps. And our students, if they come in middle school or they come in high school, it's very, very tough. How do you learn the language and get up to grade
studies.
level?
Right.
Right, it's very, very difficult. So the tutors are really essential. And then a couple of years ago, we started doing the 2% ECS grant. And this we have to, I think I had mentioned at the beginning of the budget process, we were including staff From this 2%, I do have to let the state know if we are applying for the 2%, because it does take 2% from the ECS funds from the city. So I also need to let the mayor know. Traditionally, that's around June 20th, 25th. In there, but definitely by June 30th, we have to notify them. So if we chose not to move forward with this grant, then what would happen is we would have to find another way to fund those positions, because we are anticipating that we will need all of those positions, and that they would stay in this funding. So that gives you an overview. I don't know if the Alliance, as the mayor said at the Board of Finance, is not a grant. It is part of ECS. So I do have the Alliance breakdown as well, if you'd like that.
Yes, please.
I know that it wasn't mentioned as such on the agenda, but you have the breakdown. The Board of Finance has the breakdown as well, the most recent breakdown. Fiona's hogging all the copies, John,
Well,
sorry
that's from
about
this year,
that.
right?
Yes, that's this year, because we don't have, we don't know what we're going to receive. We are hoping that we're going to receive another million, or $1.2 million. Just a reminder that the 200,000, if we do get $1.2 million, we will have to spend it on minority teacher recruitment. Correct. So that would only leave us another $1 million, but we won't know until the governor says yay or nay. So this gives you this is only this year's accounting of staff that are in the Alliance at this point.
Okay, so the 2% then.
The 2% is a different grant. That's ECS.
Okay.
Right, that's above and
Gotcha.
beyond. No, it's a really good question. It's above and beyond what we get for Alliance.
Okay.
It's the same
Yes.
bucket of money, though, technically,
We would be taking that portion from the city.
and we already do.
We are, well, the Alliance is determined by the state, and they say you will. If you are an Alliance district, we're sending the money to you directly. When we say, okay, we're going to take 2% of the ECS money, that's why you have to notify the city, because otherwise they would receive that 2%.
They receive because
hold
we
on to it.
can't.
But we
Right.
have been
Unless we
doing this.
specifically
Yes,
ask
we
for
have.
that.
Historically, we've been taking the 2%.
Yes,
Correct.
They're not
Well,
expecting
the
us to
last
call
few
them and
years.
For the
say,
last few years,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, they get really mad.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they're over that
I
month
think-
now. It's old mad.
Yeah,
I have a question. Are
Sure.
we set with this part?
sure. I just
It's
wanted,
on this, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
I just wanted to say on the Alliance piece, you can see the breakdown of the positions. And then on the second page, you can see the breakdown of just other things, resources and supplies and professional development, extended day. When you're looking at Alliance funds, you're really looking at a breakdown of talent, academics, community and culture, and operations. And so they do the abbreviation as TACO, so that you remember, right, what you have to ensure that you have used your funding for. So we've done that in the variety of different ways, and this is how it breaks down.
And then report to them,
Correct.
continue on.
Because Alliance funding isn't, let me just do this willy-nilly. You can't supplant, you can't say, I'm going to just take a classroom teacher. You have to, the whole definition of Alliance funding is for bold new initiatives that will make a significant difference to your students so that you can move the academic achievement forward. That's the goal. Sorry,
Sounds good.
any other questions on that?
I have a question, just looking at this, and it's not on this so much because I had a chance to look at this earlier. The different pay scales, I guess, the salaries listed for
Where-
the paras.
Where
I'm
are
looking at
you?
the whole. the
Just
breakdown.
everything? Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
The IDA, that
All- The
breakdown?
whole grant thing, yes.
The whole grant, okay.
Sure.
It's just as far as, yeah, so
Yep.
some of the salaries were, with the paras, there's some that are at 22,000, some are at 28. Do we
Yep.
have like and I'm asking more for, I know it's based on steps and years of service and
Yep.
things like that. Is it built into our payroll system that if somebody's been here X amount of years, they're this is their salary based on the contract?
I'm
Is
gonna have Scott explain it because he's just had to learn it. And
Okay.
it is a horrendous process because they don't have steps, but they have incremental increases, right, that happen randomly throughout the
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Depending on when
Yeah,
they
it's
were
not
hired.
fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Scott's just learning it, and he's
Okay.
just got
Sounds
his first
horrific.
overview, but
Okay.
yeah, there's, essentially, we have to make sure that everything is up to date, and, you know, there's dates and amounts, and this
Okay.
is, the paras probably, give us the most angst about getting them right, because, you know,
There's so
taxes are
many
on
different-
tables, we gotta make sure are updated, but these take a little bit more care, so
Okay.
we just can't put a step in, because like Sue said, certain times during the year, they go up,
Right.
not
They get
just.
incremental increases.
So we
Okay.
have to anticipate that when we're doing the budget. So it takes a long time to do all that prep.
Yep.
Because
To get
it's
it
based
right.
on the date of hire.
Correct.
So are there, I'm sorry, one second. Are there controls in place to ensure that the paras are the right paras that have been here or, you know, 10 years versus 5 versus this? Like, how are we able to track that?
So Scott sat with Lisa Schimmels for weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna oversimplify it, but it's sitting there with a bunch of pieces of paper and making sure that everything's right. I mean,
Right,
there's,
gotcha. And so are you
there's
in the
really no
process
way to
of
automate
doing
it.
that? Or,
Excuse me?
oh, it's not automated, it's
no, I meant
manual
like,
input?
it's, not- you
Oh,
can't
God.
just like do an
Okay.
Excel sheet and just
Gotcha.
automate it and do it. You have to sit here and like Lisa, like she said, we sat and went employee by employee, line by line. So
Okay.
That's
So
why we
that
wanted a
exercise
That's the
is all
different
set.
control.
That's, it sounds like a good one. I mean, old school isn't always the worst
Yeah,
way to
that's-
go. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you know, pen and paper.
Yeah.
I'm still,
I was actually
An advocate of
comfortable
that.
doing it that way. That was, you know, especially this time. And even this year, we'll
right,
sit there and do it the same way. So.
okay. All right. Wow, thank you.
Prefer to audit that way. I wouldn't want to do it the first time.
Right,
I'd like to check my work that way.
right.
That's awful.
Yeah.
So for the grants, are we including benefits in these numbers? Because I can't figure out how we could arrive at these numbers for paras. Like $28,041. So does that include their benefit?
No, that's their salary. I don't know what are you looking at in
Page
Just
13
like-
of 16.
Thrive, ABC at Ford, or TMS Resource?
Some of them may be grandfathered in at that 10%, don't forget.
Yeah, I just couldn't see how we could arrive, how they could statistically make that number. So I didn't know if we just,
You're asking if it's a gross payroll number?
right,
No, it doesn't include benefits.
yeah,
So where is that?
Next
funding?
I just know it's right.
yeah.
It's just the salary.
Yeah.
They're
But
accounted for somewhere
that's
else.
another thing we have
In
to
general
watch, because all of a sudden Lisa
So
was
the
like,
grant,
oh, they're
Right.
the 10%.
the grant.
Right,
You know, when
Right.
we went, so that's
correct,
why
and we
actually
have them
got
in the
to
general
name
budget
by
for
name,
benefits.
so we
Oh, to
would
figure
get
out.
Some of it will capture it there. Most of it will
And
capture
then-
it there.
Looking, I was like, oh, I'll do it with Excel sheet.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Lisa just laughed.
So, and then when you do the budget, the benefits are on the GB side
Correct.
Yes.
They just lump in, or they,
with
Yeah.
whatever the increase you're estimating to be based on their date of hire. And
Yes,
if they're in the 10%, that's
Correct.
fun.
yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
better you than us.
Wow.
Right, Scott?
Yeah, that's a
One time a year.
Herculean.
Right,
Yeah,
takes a long time.
yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Facility use fees update.
Yeah, so the very
Fund
last
policy.
page of the packet, 16 of 16, we just put together a little simple spreadsheet to show where we are year to date, as the committee wanted to know what the revenue was. So I just broke it into two, because the first block of the 31,583.74, that's actually what's sitting in the account now that was billed and we received payment. And the second block is what we have billed. We just recently billed it, so we haven't received the checks yet. So I just wanted to show you
What it was looking like.
what it's looking like. And, so year to date, we have 35,482.63.
Okay. You know what I think would be interesting, not right now, just not to make work, but once the new numbers are finalized, what would these numbers look, once the new fees are finalized, what would this page look like under the new fee schedule?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could do once.
Not anything crazy, like I could even do it myself once it comes, I guess. I'm just curious, like, is this move worth the move? Making, increasing the fees and going through all this, is it gonna make that much of a difference? Because, a majority of our vendors are doing things for our kids, for our students, which we don't wanna charge them for.
We took it from.
So, we may be going through these exercises for.
That's whatever the committee wants to do, we'll do it, whatever you want to see. It's not that much work.
Oh, okay, that would be good, just, once it's done, once the new fee schedule's been finalized.
Maybe because they
we'll
said,
take a look at it.
oh, it's in it.
Fiona, and then Jeff.
Just confused. So we have a lot of other groups that rent the facility. So is this from like a certain date and time? Like there's outside agencies running after-school programs that should be paying for the space, but I don't see them on here. So are we doing this from like these aren't the only people that have rented the school this year? You can just, for
right.
next time,
It will, like touring forward with the church that was renting it, right?
for next time, because I'm not
Yeah.
sure, maybe we just weren't tracking it before because,
Yeah, no, I'll
yeah, look at.
double check, absolutely. I could say this, though, that the 31,583 are actual monies that we have received that are sitting in the
Yeah.
building use.
That's great.
So that's why I would tend to say, I think that we did catch everybody who's actually
Well, it's pretty close to Jeffrey's.
Right, exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Right, but then are,
Yes.
But it's that's
but
the.
then are we billing who we should be billing is
Well,
my
that's-
question.
well, no, and
But it goes
that
back.
might be
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
Could be for
Like that
Probably.
Torrington,
They
the
had
church at Torrington is
Yes.
down here,
Right.
Okay, then never mind.
Okay.
Probably have.
Almost
So
the
it's-
beginning of the year.
Oh, I see, I'm thinking like if it goes back years, it's entirely possible that there's some kind of agreement from 10 years ago.
No, this
that-
is a brand.
This
new.
is just this year.
Right, I'm saying if some of these folks aren't paying, there maybe have been some kind of a past agreement a long time ago that they, that we don't know about, that we are obliged to honor.
This one
Be
is
interesting
new
to
though.
know, right?
Yeah.
It would be interesting to know.
I have two
Go ahead, Jeff.
questions. If you had to take a guess, what percentage of this, just rough guess, what percentage of this $35,000 is custodial fees versus rental? I'm not, just random.
No,
guess,
we
'cause-
actually have that on a spreadsheet somewhere, not the percentage, but the amount that
The
we think's
dollar
going to custodial, but I don't know. I'd be guessing if I gave you.
Okay, and then
So for next time.
the next.
Sure, no, absolutely.
The next question is, what happens to this revenue? So when we have revenue, I
We've
don't know.
never had revenue.
So
kidding.
what do we do with the revenue? I mean, what happens that is it? There's rules, I'm sure, as to what you can. I'm guessing there's rules because there's rules for everything else. It seems. What do we use it for? Does it just go into GB at the end of the day? What do we do with this money? What are we allowed to earmark it for, like maintenance of the buildings or?
Yeah, I'm waiting for an answer from the auditors because I actually had the same question for them. I think it's part of our financial statements. That I do know, but I want to ask them because I don't think it goes back into the general fund. And that's why it's actually separate as revenue, so.
Okay.
But I do have that exact question into the auditors. They just haven't gotten back to me yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Topics for future meetings? Monthly financials. Ellen, did policy look at the facilities fees, the fee change, this change schedule? Does that have to go to budget or
It's
no?
going to full board.
Okay. So monthly financials,
I have something
okay.
for next month. According to the policy, all the accounts, like the high school accounts, all the individual little accounts and all the accounts of the school, by a certain date, they have to let you know what they're carrying over.
Yes, the student activity accounts.
Yes,
Yep,
yes.
Okay.
already on it. Thank you for.
Okay,
For that.
so will
That's,
that be a report next time?
Sure, we could report on that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great.
Because yes.
And
I was-
everyone's getting back to you and they're,
We're just sending something out this week.
okay,
But thank you, because I remember from our previous
right,
discussion.
right.
When we were reporting on it, that it's in our policy, so absolutely on top of that.
Great. And PTOs are complying?
We're trying. Not
They've
my
been good.
department.
Any other topics off the top of your head? No.
Well, maybe we'll be getting our number.
Right, so they have to do the 23, 24.
Yeah.
All right. That's the big one.
Health insurance
And
too.
Budget
Alliance, if
review.
we get our
Well, hopefully
alliance
it'll be
number, we'll have to-
We'll get that before next month, do you think?
It'll
Or
all
estimate it.
kind of happen.
When that
kind of pull it apart.
simultaneously.
We talked about
We're
health
gonna go
insurance
out to
committee.
bid.
But just
too.
add it
Mhm.
to
Add it.
keep it on there.
Yeah, because we have to receive that money before we can spend money. We have to actually approve it.
Jeff?
We talked about a health insurance committee too. How does that make its way through the process?
Oh, that's a good idea. Why don't
Does
we
that
add
start
it as
here or
a
does it-
topic for future meetings and just carry it until we can get through a budget? Yeah. When does that get renewed? July?
We just-
Or can we do
the
it
way works
anytime?
Now, we
We
just
could do-
do the number. yeah.
We could get quotes anytime, right? Okay.
Yeah, because we're self-insured.
Right, and they always tell us to put in more than we need to put in, we always put in less than they recommend, and it always works out, it's a fun process.
Yeah. Okay. Comments for good of the order, Glenn?
Good meeting, Sue.
Thanks. Back at you. Fiona, good meeting?
All set, thank you.
Well, good, thank you.
Good meeting.
I got one.
What's that?
I probably should have brought this up in the comments for the facilities meeting, but probably pertinent here. Most people, when they announce their resignation, right, they kind of just coast in.
Yes.
Today, I spent the day at the high school, and I have the new ultrasonic cleaner wired, and it's ready to go. So it's in, it's been wired, and they can fill it and start using it as of tomorrow.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thanks, John.
So as I said I was going to do,
Yep, thank you.
it is wired. So that's my comment.
Awesome.
Great.
Ellen?
Great meeting. Thank you for all the information and more to come and your learning
Got
curve.
everything done very quickly, congratulations.
Thank you. Learn from a master. Josh? Marissa?
Great meeting.
Thank you. Anybody on the phone?
All good.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So move.
8:19.
Second.
Second.
Good
All in
one.
favor?
Second, all in favor.
Right. Thank you, everybody.
Jeff, it's
And-
fine,
and-
'cause